The Detroit Lions have one of the youngest, most exciting, and talented wide receiver cores in the NFL. Before the season, the Lions wide receiver core was being ranked around 23, low 20s, but now I would definitely argue that the Detroit Lions have a top 10 wide receiver core in the NFL. To start off, I would definitely put the Seahawks wide receiver core above the Lions, as they have DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, Marquise Goodwin. They have a really strong wide receiver core. I believe they're one of the fastest, if not the fastest, wide receiver core in the NFL. That's a video for another time though. Next up, I would obviously definitely put the Eagles above the Lions. I mean, AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, Quez Watkins. AJ Brown just himself is crazy. I'd put the Dolphins above the Lions. I don't really need to say much. Waddle and Tyreek Hill. What else do I have to say about the Dolphins? And then, sad to say, but I'd put the Cowgirls above the Lions just because more developed. CeeDee Lamb, Noah Brown, Gallup, T.Y. Hilton. And the last two teams I would for sure put above the Lions are the Bills. I mean, Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis, and then Isaiah McKenzie was their next biggest wide receiver, but Gabe Davis and Stephon Diggs alone are just way too good. And then I'd put the Vikings wide receiver core above the Lions. Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen. That's all you need. I mean, they also have KJ Osborne. Justin Jefferson just takes it himself though. So the Seahawks, Eagles, Cowboys, Dolphins, Bills, and Vikings wide receiver cores I would definitely put above the Lions. This is how I would rank those six I mentioned, and I would definitely bring the Lions in at 7. I think they have the 7th strongest wide receiver core in the NFL. Now, 3 wide receiver cores I think you could definitely argue into the conversation is 1, the Chargers. I mean, Keenan Allen and Mike Williams are a crazy duo. Number 2, the 49ers. I mean, even with 3 different quarterbacks, they continue to have an extremely strong offense. There's Deebo Samuel, there's Brandon Ayuk. And lastly, I think the Kansas City Chiefs wide receiver core could be argued into the conversation. Definitely a top 10, I would probably say. I mean, I'm not counting tight ends in this, so Kelsey doesn't count, but there's still Smith-Schuster, Valdez-Scantling, and Justin Watson, who are also pretty solid, I'd say. Now, out of these 7 or 10 that I've mentioned, I would definitely say the Lions wide receiver core has the most potential out of all these teams, as they're the youngest and they're extremely talented. Now, honestly, I'd like to rank the Lions wide receiver core higher, maybe like above the Bills or Cowgirls, but I feel like that's just a little bit too aggressive, as a lot of the Lions wide receivers haven't played a lot yet due to injuries and other things, which I'll get into. Now, first up for the Lions wide receiver core, I want to look at Amon-ra St. Brown, the Lions' top wide receiver this season with nearly 1,200 yards. He had 6 touchdowns. It's his 2nd year in the league. He was drafted in the 4th round in 2020. Picked number 117 overall, an absolute steal in the draft. Now, with Amon-ra being the Lions' top wide receiver, there's a lot of pros he has. He's extremely good at making men miss and extending plays, picking up more yards. He's extremely fast, and he also has a very low drop rate. On 146 targets this season, he only dropped 2 passes, which is pretty good. St. Brown also seems like he's a big character for the team. He seems like he's really motivational, really fits in with the team chemistry, brings a certain dynamic to the team. Now, the biggest plus, the biggest upside of St. Brown is, I would say, his consistency. This goes along with his low drop rate. Only dropping 2 passes means St. Brown's gonna show up when you need him. And when watching the Lions, anytime they needed a big play or a first down, especially on 3rd down, I saw Goff throw it to St. Brown, and he was just an animal. He'd pick up the first down every time. This season, the Lions had 376 first downs, and St. Brown had 68 of them, meaning St. Brown completed almost 20% of all the Lions' first downs this season, and it showed in the games. You always saw St. Brown getting open on 3rd down. You always saw Goff looking for St. Brown on 3rd down. He was just so consistent at getting open and hauling in good catches, and he'd still find ways to get more yards on top of the first down. Now, the last things about St. Brown I want to mention is also on 4th down, again with the 3rd down, just always getting the ball, always clutching up, hauling in the pass to get the first down, which is huge on 4th downs as the Lions go for it a lot. And the last thing is his ability to rush the ball. There was a lot of play calls where jet sweep like plays where Amon-ra St. Brown would have a chance to rush, and he ended up having 95 yards this season. There's one play where he had 58 yards, but just the ability is there. It's just another threat that the other defense has to watch. The next player we're looking at is Kalif Raymond. Kalif Raymond has bounced around the league for the past 6 years. He was on Denver, the Giants, Tennessee for a little bit. The Lions signed him for the 2021 season, and these past 2 years have really been a huge breakout for him. Last year he had almost 600 yards, and this season he did have 600 600 yards and ranked second among the Lions wide receivers. Kalif Raymond was a great punt returner. He had a punt return touchdown for the Jets, and also as a wide receiver, he was super good at catching the deep ball. He had a ton of huge catches. One is most known against the Packers, taking it down to the 1-yard line with an insane throw from Goff, and he's just extremely fast. A 4.3 40. Raymond has really broke out into the league, shown what he can do, really works well with Goff, and is just another reliable man for Goff. He's a great number 2 behind Amon-Ra. Next up, I want to look at DJ Chark. He was in Jacksonville from 2018 to 2021, and the Lions picked him up last year off of free agency. Now Chark is now a free agent again, but I really hope he re-signs with the Lions, and I honestly think he will, as he really fit into the team chemistry and Detroit really liked him. Now there's a podcast recently with the St. Brown brothers and DJ Chark. I highly recommend you go listen to it, but Chark talked about how the Detroit Lions were a lot different than Jacksonville. He felt like he was held accountable to look into the playbook, make sure you don't mess up, and it also that just says something about the Detroit Lions team right now, as just how well they're working together and holding each other accountable and getting better every day. But it also says something about DJ Chark, how he's willing to put in the effort, enjoys putting in the effort, and is a strong wide receiver. And it shows. He had 500 yards this season on only 30 receptions, and he had a 57.7 catch percentage, which isn't near as high as Amon-Ra St. Brown's, but still really strong. Chark was a great, solid, strong, reliable wide receiver this season, and I really hope the Lions re-sign him because I can't wait to see more of him. And if the Lions don't, I wouldn't be surprised because their wide receiver core has a lot of depth. Next wide receiver, the fourth one I want to look at from the Lions, is Josh Reynolds. He was the wide receiver 4 this season, 479 yards, caught 38 of the 59 targets, a 64.4 catch percentage. He was just another solid wide receiver. Now, he was definitely more prominent in the earlier games this season. He had a few 100-yard games, and then he kind of died down, and then he was injured for a little bit with back injuries around week 9 and didn't really fully recover and come back to having big games like that, but still another solid wide receiver the Lions have for one more year. Now the next wide receiver I want to talk about is Maurice Alexander. He was an undrafted rookie last year, and now he's been on and off the Lions practice squad. He only played in 4 games this season due to injuries and being on and off the practice squad, but he started out as a kick returner. He shows a lot of potential. He only had 1 target this season, which he caught for 7 yards, but he shows a lot of potential. I mean, 9 months ago he was working for UPS, and he's worked his way onto the Lions practice squad. I really can't wait to watch this guy play. The Lions have him for one more year. He displays the Detroit Lions grit of working hard, and he's going to be back from injury next year, and I can't wait to watch him play. The second to last wide receiver is Tom Kennedy. He was undrafted in the 2019 draft, and the Lions signed him. He signed with the team in 2019. He was off in 2020, back on the team in 2021, had 54 yards, and this past season he had 141 yards off 8 receptions. He seems just like an average player, nothing too special. He's now recently signed a 2-year deal with the Lions. He's now on the practice squad. He seems like a solid backup, but I don't think we'll be seeing very much of him. Now I saved the best for last, and my personal favorite, Jameson Williams, drafted 12th overall last year, played for Alabama, but sadly tore his ACL in the championship game against Georgia, but now he's recovered and he's crazy. This season he had 2 catches for 2 touchdowns and averages over 50 yards per catch. Haters will say it's only 1 touchdown. Technically, on the stats, it says only 1 touchdown because this one against the Packers, this over 70-yard bomb where he just totally gasses out the Packers defenders here. He even looks back at him. He's the fastest guy in the league. He runs a 4.25 40. Faster than Tyreek Hill, which is 4.29. I can't wait to watch this man play more, but he only had 1 touchdown for 41 yards, so he only averages 41 yards a catch, but 41 yards on average per catch is still crazy. If you can't tell, I'm joking because he only had 1 catch. I can't wait to watch this man play next year. He's definitely not 100%. He just came off his injury recently, and you see how fast he is, how good he is. It's unbelievable. I can't wait for this guy to get 100% healthy over this offseason and really show up next year. I think he's going to be developed into one of the great wide receivers for the Detroit Lions. As you can see, the Lions have some real talent in the wide receiver position. I think they have one of the best in the league, if not the best. Their team's also extremely young, and they have so much young talent and so much potential. They have 8 solid wide receivers. I know Tom Kennedy and Maurice Alexander aren't like as good as like St. Brown, Chark, and Raymond, but they're still solid wide receivers that have still a ton of potential and have room to grow and are great backups and add depth to the team. And these are their 40 times compared to Tyreek Hill. Just Jameson Williams is faster than Tyreek Hill, and Kalif Raymond and DJ Chark are right up there. They have so much speed and so much talent. I can't wait to watch where this team goes. And that's going to be the end of this video. If you guys enjoy my content, I would really appreciate if you could like and subscribe. It really helps me out a lot. And once again, thanks for watching.